Okay, welcome to Cape Ann Plein Air. We are recording these little sessions and conversations with our artists for our virtual Cape Ann Plein Air in October, since everyone needs to keep their distance. And so we hope to see everyone in May of 2021. I want to welcome our artists today. There's 5 of you. And so why don't we each go around and introduce yourselves? And we can start with Richard.
I'm Richard Snary, live in Kansas City, and this would have been my, I don't know, whatever number of years Cape Ann's been going on, 5th, 6th,
I think
something
5,
in that order.
5 or 6, yeah.
There, so I'm a watercolorist. So.
Okay. Beth, you're next here on my screen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Bathe, and I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I work in oils, and this is my 3rd time at Cape Ann.
Great. And Antoine?
Hi there, everybody. My name is Antoine Ramar. I live in Central Florida, around Orlando. I'm an oil painter primarily. I occasionally do watercolors when I'm traveling light, but for events I always do oil. And yeah, I've never been to Cape Ann area. The closest I've come is Boston, and I visited the art museum there a couple of years ago. So I'm really excited to check it out next spring.
It'll be beautiful then when you all make it. Jason?
My name is Jason Sacron. I live in Bellows Falls, Vermont. No, I'm kidding. I live in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I've never been to Cape Ann. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, that's me.
It'd be great to see you in May. And Charlie?
Hey, I'm Charlie Hunter. I'm out here by some railroad tracks in Wyoming, and it's cold as hell. No, actually, I am sitting in my office in Bellows Falls, Vermont. It's great to see everybody. It's great to see J-Dog. It's great to see Rich. It's great to see Beth. And it's nice to meet you, Mr. Central Florida Man.
Yes.
Florida Man. I always have wanted to meet Florida Man.
I'm famous on the internet, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Awesome.
You must be the only one that's like really warm right now. It's getting chilly here in New England.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have a nice winter. So, you know, the last 6 months have been kind of life-changing for so many people in different ways. And one of the things that we're wondering about is how, as artists, has your life changed? Has your art changed? How you think about it? Your daily routine? You know, plein air, obviously, if you're a plein air painter, being able to be outside is a plus, you know. I know some artists teach, and so they've had to make some adjustments in that way. So how you guys can just pipe up. Here, I'll call on you, Richard, again. How has the last 6 months treated you in life and art? Maybe Richard can't hear me. Can you hear me, Richard?
He's just gloomy Gus. He's just gloomy Gus. Richard's a man of few words.
How come your head is kind of pulsating there, Charlie?
I think the mescaline is just kicking in for you, Richard.
Yeah. I take it you were asking me what I was doing during the time. Okay. My speaker is kind of screwed up on my, so it blurs stuff. So if that's possible in sound, but it does. So yeah, I think everything was canceled. The first event of the year was in Louisiana, New Iberia, and myself and Jeff Williams and Greg Summers and a few others actually arrived there to find out they'd canceled it while we were driving. So that was the beginning of all the cancellations. So I've been dealing with that most of the year, then trying to figure out where everybody has been rescheduled to. and along with events that I've applied to for exhibitions that were set dates and then they changed. So trying to keep track of all of it is like mind numbing. It's a wonder that I'm still sitting here. So, but I've gotten out and painted a lot around town, not every day, and but quite a bit over the time period. So that's kind of easy for all of us to do because we're not normally that close to everybody. So you don't have to wear a mask unless you've got people near you. So, you know, I've been doing pretty good. I spend a lot less money this way, that's for sure. So it's not been too bad. Sold a few paintings, so that's good. Won a few awards. So I've been pleasantly surprised that it isn't as bad as it could have been. So.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations, in case you can't hear that. So I had a question. I think the volume thing was messing with me here. Okay, I can ask questions later. Beth, how have things been for you?
Well, I was thinking the year was going to be really crazy busy. I think I was in like 10 or 11 events, you know, were on the docket, and I did an event in late February, just a little local one, Chad's Ford, and it was really fun. I said, oh, this is my warm up. Well, that was it. So, yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, actually, I'm actually in an event right now. Yesterday was the first day. I'm in Plein, Annapolis, and it's was really weird to kind of pack the car and, you know, get ready for, you know, usually by this time of the year, it's kind of like a rote thing when, you know, we're ready to go. When we, you know, I've painted already 100 paintings probably for the year. So yesterday, just standing in the public was really kind of weird. I felt a little rusty. But, you know, it's been good. I haven't been much of a studio painter for the past 6 years because I'm so busy on the plein air circuit. So it's been really interesting to, you know, sort of hunker down in studio and try some new stuff. I've been doing a lot of figurative work. At my studio at home, when I'm not doing plein air, I usually have artists come and we hire a model, and that happens every 2 weeks. And, you know, with the pandemic, that, you know, ceased that. But my partner Bill is a professional photographer, and he's had years and years of photo shoots with models. And so we started that up every Friday, and we have sometimes 50 to 60 artists participate weekly. And it's been really fun. I think one thing that we've all learned is, you know, our whole social media thing has totally changed. We've learned how to do this Zoom and how to film and how to edit and put little movies together. I mean, stuff that we had like never done before. So that's kind of a new thing for us.
Yeah, shifting over to even just showing your work that way. I know a lot of galleries around Cape Ann have had to really merge online their spring exhibitions. All just went up online, and getting them to, you know, it's never quite the same, but it is nice to have that option, I think, just through the transition.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, figure painting. Is it painting or drawing? Are you doing both?
Usually painting, but some artists are drawing, but it's been, it's really good. And for me, I think it really helps me in the landscape, you know, to kind of become proficient in doing the figure. You have to sort of get the figure right. So it's been good. It's been a different, you know, kind of path, but it's been good.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Is that something you had planned to do anyway, or you were doing before the pandemic?
Oh Lord, no. I mean,
okay.
I did the figure,
so
you know,
really
I did the figure like twice a month, you know, for my studio,
yeah.
but now I'm doing it, you know, weekly, and
yeah,
it's been good. It's been interesting.
That's great. It'll be fun to see some of those. Yeah. All right, Antoine, you're next on the grid.
Yeah, I just got done with a 7-month artisan residency in Polynesian Islands. I mean, I haven't even seen a cell phone or internet until today. I don't know what all of you all are talking about. This is crazy. I just got home and saw the news.
I wish we were all with you.
I was on this sailboat. It was a fantastic adventure, no internet. And all of a sudden I get home and something hit the fan and it smells a little funky. No, I was actually with Jason down in Florida at the Lighthouse event, exactly when all of this was really starting to progress by the daily. And it was quite an experience. As you can imagine, we were all kind of getting there as news was getting worse. This was the end of February, and we painted throughout the whole plein air event. And every day we would come to drop off paintings. And of course, we were pretty immersed in our process of working on paintings daily. And then every day we would come in and drop a few pieces off. And the gallery liaisons and owners kept saying like, well, you know, stuff is happening in the world and things are getting a little worse. And every day we would come in and drop off a few more paintings and they would have kind of a new layman's news update for us. These are the headlines. And by the end of the event, we were all like, well, this might be one of the strangest events we've ever done for sure, because everything had gone into lockdown basically by the last day of the event was the last day where people were kind of moving about, going to restaurants and things in Florida. And then things started to basically go into a mandatory lockdown in the next couple of days after that. So that was a wild adventure. And yeah, I mean, time for painting has been ample. That's not a problem really. But yeah, all of our egos are slowly shrinking. We're so used to having eyes on us at all times. And painting is not a problem, but there's not as many eyes on us and we're not at events as much. So that's a little sad, but I've been able to keep at it. The summer is actually a much bigger problem than the pandemic was for me as a Florida painter, because I usually travel in the summer up north to do plein air events, and there's just almost no possible way to paint outdoors in Florida between the months of June and September, unless you try to go at 6 in the morning, and even then you're looking at 85 to 90 degrees. So yeah, I've been doing a lot more studio painting and changing career hats a little bit here and there and doing some home renovations that I've been hoping to do for the last 10 years and finally had plenty of time to do it. So that was fun, and shows have been good. There's been a lot of online exhibitions, so that's been nice at least to get artwork out there. But yeah, I've really only done 2 in-person plein air events since March. So it's kind of slowly coming back. I'm heading off here in the next couple of weeks to do another in-person plein air event, but it is kind of an odd feeling, as anybody who has done any in the last couple of weeks has felt. But I'm excited. It's slowly getting back, and painting has been fun. I just miss my friends at events.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so many people, when we've been doing these, have really been enjoying seeing each other and getting excited for more of this, and also being able to get together again soon. For you down there too, you have such nice weather year round, so hopefully, I know here people are sort of anticipating staying home more and being inside more. We had a conversation last week with some artists about what it's like to paint in the winter, and some of the things about standing on snow, how many times you go out to the same spot to paint, how much you can tolerate the cold weather while you're doing a painting.
Yeah, I want to make sure that, for the record, I am from Wisconsin. I just live in Florida now. I hate to make a point of it, but I really don't like being the Florida man too often. So I switch over to make sure people know that I'm born and raised in central Wisconsin, and I'm very used to the cold, and I do appreciate it for 2 or 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that is fun there.
He's got his kitty.
Is that your studio cat?
No, this is not Studio Cat. This is Home Cat. This is Charbonneau. There's 3 cats. There's Yorkie and Charbonneau, who are the 2 black cats who live at home with me. And then there's Studio Cat Corduroy, which is my girlfriend's cat that I have somehow ended up with. well, what I was going to say is that I found myself painting much more like Scott Burdick, as you can see in the background here. Actually, this is a picture of Scott Burdick in his studio. Up, the cat is now sitting on the keyboard. Off, down. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, so Studio Cat Corduroy is over at the studio. These are home cats. I'll get rid of my background for a moment. How do you do that? That's always fun. None. This is where I actually am. It's just
disillusioned.
In my office. Yeah. But anyway, being a person from Vermont, we don't like hugging and interpersonal contact anyway. So it's been a great year, aside from certain disasters that I hear tell are going on elsewhere. I'm doing a lot of studio work, much bigger stuff, a lot of like 4 foot by 6 foot. This is like a 3 foot by 6 foot, something like that. Just doing a whole bunch of big stuff. Been very involved in the thing about not traveling around to plein air events. I've ended up, of course, getting sucked into local issues. So I'm very involved in getting a nonprofit organized to take over the operation of our local opera house, movie theater, live event venue. So that's been taking a bunch of time. Then J-Dog and I were part of Plein Air, which was riding the Southwest Chief from Chicago to Santa Fe, stopping in 5 little towns along the way. We did that last year. This year we had 3 trips organized, all of which, of course, ended up getting canceled. And Amtrak, the people who run Amtrak are now all former airline people. So they've got no sense of how passenger rail ought to be operated, and they're in the middle of attempting to cut all the long distance trains to only operate 3 days a week. And if that happens, that'll be the death knell of the long distance network. So I'm very involved in the rail advocacy stuff. Then aside from that, I've started doing a reasonably fine art talk every Tuesday afternoon, where I blueberate about art, sometimes with guests. And that's about it.
Do you do those live, or are they on Zoom?
Yeah, they're live. We actually use a platform called StreamYard and broadcast them on Facebook Live, and then I now have a YouTube channel. I never thought I would have a YouTube channel, but now I have a YouTube channel.
You're a rock star.
Very exciting.
Those are great, Charlie. Those are great.
I'm going to go back to being Scott Burdick now.
I actually did. Yeah, I didn't know what I was looking at before. I thought that was your studio, perhaps.
I know, it works really well. It's like, except like people know that's really not how I paint.
Charlie, do you live in a green screen? That's cool.
No, in Zoom, it's a little toggle on Zoom. You can.
Oh, that's so cool. You can create your own world.
By video, there's a little caret by the video toggle, and it says choose virtual background, and you can just upload photos randomly.
Wow, cool.
Like Rockettes.
There's
prison, dinosaurs,
Love
anti-Trump sloganeering.
Love it.
Kathy Anderson paintings. Richard Schmid paintings. Large cat.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. I'm scared I'll disconnect if I try it.
Right.
So I know so many people are going to be traveling this year, and who knows when we'll be really, really traveling. But what kinds of places? All of you, have you all been painting your whole lives? Did you, start out young and professionally start painting, or did you have a different career beforehand? What brought you to, doing what you're doing, especially as much as you're doing it? Are you all full-time painters?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I've only been painting since 2011, though. So it's
Okay.
when the recession knocked all the hand illustrations out of the market. I switched over.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'd been doing architectural illustration for as long as I can remember. Going back to college at the University of Kansas, I did some stuff for my professors back there, and then I did architecture for 20, 30 years, whatever it was, and switched to teaching architecture and illustration all at the same time for another 10, 20 years. So I'm kind of ancient now. University of Kansas Department of Architecture. So I taught first to third year, beginning stuff as well. So
there's a lot of math in that, in architecture.
Yep.
Yeah, I know Washington University, right? WashU in St.
Several
Louis
good
is a
friends
big
that
school
went
for
there.
that.
Yeah.
Have you do you have any desires or plans to travel overseas or go somewhere that you haven't been before?
I
other
did.
than
I was supposed to go to Spain in end of April, 1st of May.
Mm-hmm.
That ended, obviously. So we still haven't got all our money back. So
yeah.
And then Charlie canceled the train trips.
Right.
Damn it, Charlie.
You can blame it on Charlie, not COVID. How about you, Jason?
No, what's the question?
Anything. No, well, we were kind of starting out about, you know, what brought you to painting professionally, and is it something that your primary profession, and what brought you there, and where do you want to go?
I was a curator at a museum from, I think, 2006 to 2008, and I was also teaching adjunct at the local university, and I was primarily doing figure work. And a buddy of mine, John Lasseter, said, "Well, you like doing figures, you might like painting outside." So he took me outside, and I thought to myself, well, you can do figure, you can do anything, you know. And I thought I was going to teach him a lesson, and that's the worst painting I've ever done in my life. So in fact, I think that plein air painting, in my opinion, is harder than figure. At least it was for me. So I started doing plein air just as a learning tool. I started going out on my own, and ended up loving it so much I started doing those plein air events. I think I started in 2009, and I've done hundreds probably by now. Well, I don't know about hundreds. For the last, let's see, from 2009
Hard to count that high.
until now. I mean, there's been years. One year I did, I think, 19. And my average year, I probably did about 14 events all the way up until recently. And I think this year I had scheduled 3. I'm just kind of slowing down now, you know, picking and choosing the ones that I like, or the ones I've never done in some cases that I've heard about. But I love plein air painting. I still go out and do it. I've gone out a few times this year. And then I've done a lot of unsuccessful experimental paintings this year in the studio since COVID. Yeah, that's about it.
So this just came to my mind when you said you have hundreds of paintings. Where do you keep your paintings? Where does everyone keep their paintings?
Well,
do you have like storage facility?
Every one of them.
That is probably not a good marketing topic.
No, I'm kidding. That's not a good marketing question. You know, honestly, my success ratio is pretty low, so I don't have that many paintings. I am lucky enough that I've been able to sell over the years, but I do have a very large stack of paintings here at the house.
Well,
probably,
yeah, and I was just going to say that I've always heard, and my father always tells me this too, you know, it takes 20 paintings to get to that one big one. You have an exhibition and sell. It's, you know, you don't just suddenly paint the one painting that you're going to sell off the bat. So
no.
it's, yeah, so we always have all the preliminaries.
You know, when I go to plein air events, I don't turn in but maybe sometimes 3 paintings. I don't turn in very many paintings. You know, there's a lot of people that are turning in like 2 or 3 a day. I'm lucky to get 3 in the entire event.
Yeah. Bring it, Sakran, bring it.
You know, every artist I know just has, you know, I know a woman up the street passed away. She was an avid artist here on Cape Ann, and they had hundreds of paintings of hers that nobody had ever seen, that her family is now not, you know, they're figuring out what to do with them. I think they're going to have some sort of show and archival project for sure with them. So,
nice.
yeah.
There's all kinds of very scientific archival storage methods for painters. There's what we call the pile, the stack, the hoard.
Yeah.
One thing that I started doing, because I like to experiment a lot. So I started actually cutting up paintings, and then I'm collaging those cut up paintings into other paintings. I still haven't been successful at that, but still, I mean, it's an idea that I'm working on.
Sure.
So
we have to get people thinking about purchasing painting less like going to a breeder for a purebred dog, and more like going to the shelter to save it before Jason cuts it up and turns it into a so-so painting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or painting over, you know, I remember being young in school and learning about the different layers on some of the really famous paintings. I think that's pretty cool, especially in history. So now we just do it to save on canvas. No.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I've done in the past, but I really am digging this idea of collaging, not just some successful paintings, but a lot of the bad ones go into these collages, and I think it's an idea worth pursuing, and I'm always experimenting, always, and it's the reason why my success ratio is so low.
Yeah.
I want to jump in on that. Something I've been doing this during the COVID period is precisely what Jason is talking about, of taking dead paintings. The one I just put up behind me is one I'm working on right now. It's about a 2 foot by 4 foot, and it is a dead paint. It was a dead painting, and then I projected a photograph of the Minneapolis railroad yards in 1932 onto the dead painting, and then took Kills primer and painted in the rough shapes of the big white shapes. That's primer on top of a dead painting, and then I've been doing glazing on top of that, and it's now turning into I don't know how good it is, but it's turning into something. You know?
Nice.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's very funny is people say let me get out of this goddamn way of the goddamn painting. People say, oh, the reflections in the foreground are so good. There are no reflections in the foreground. That's just the dead painting showing through. I took some great.
Leave it that way.
Yeah, Charlie, that's what you say. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Don't give up your secrets.
Well, I give them all up. It makes me stronger.
Yeah.
A lot of rigor mortis in a Charlie painting.
Yeah. So Charlie, how have you come into where you are? At what point in your life did you start painting? Has it always just been part of your life?
Well, yes, I was going to show you my original career. This is my original career, Hunterline gas station, which is me and my brother. My brother is in the foreground there. And I'm up on the roof of the Hunterline gas station with the Rochester
cat. Yeah.
That was my first career, was collecting empty oil cans from local gas stations. And this was in our backyard. And I think we created a brownfield, an actual brownfield in our backyard. I don't think it's ever been remediated. There are probably PCBs still there. But I always wanted to design album covers, and I studied as a graphic designer, and ended up, I did do some album covers, but I also did a lot of tour posters for touring rock bands in the 1980s, which gives me great street cred and bona fides, you know, because I show my old Stevie Ray Vaughan posters and stuff. But then I became a music manager. And then in the early 2000s, I started painting seriously again. I painted in the 90s, but then I got too busy with the music management to really, just too scattered. But then in the 2000s, I started again. I sucked, boy, whoa, like what J-Dog was talking about, going outside and thinking you can paint. It schools you. The first few times you try doing it, it knocks you on your ass and just makes you feel this big. Then I just kept doing it, and yeah, now that this is what I do for a living. And remarkably, I'm amazed at the number of paintings that I've sold this year. You know, because you do a gallery show, and you still send the paintings to the gallery, but like, you know, they can have 2 people in the gallery at a time, and so the opening is now totally changed. So now it's a virtual event, but yet they managed to, knock on wood, you know, God willing and the creek don't rise. It's actually been a decent year, and I think Dick was saying not spending near as much money on all those travel expenses.
Oh Lord, yes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, all my singer-songwriter friends say, you know, yeah, they've got no income from club dates anymore and little folk rooms or whatever, but they're actually they're doing just as well from doing their little weekly Zoom concert that people donate to, you know. So it's a crazy year. And where was I the other day? I was at the local farm stand. Everybody's wearing masks. It's like, I never thought I was going to be in a position, you know, where, you know, it's the norm to see all your friends and everybody's wearing a mask, and, you know, you can't tell whether someone is actually going like that behind the mask. Shelby Keefe, you guys know Shelby Elby, right? She just sent me this rockin' mask that matches my my jacket.
That's so good.
So good. Anyway.
Very Vermont.
Yeah. That's all.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Charlie. Beth?
I sort of was in the same path as Charlie. I was a graphic designer for 35 years. You know, went to art school, got a degree in graphics, and, you know, did the whole corporate graphic thing for years. And then my partner, Bill, I think it was in like 2007, for Christmas one year, he got me an easel and paints, and he said, you know, why don't you do some fine art and stuff? And it promptly sat in the basement for like a year and a half. And then I was, a friend of mine was teaching at the Art League of Alexandria in Alexandria, Virginia. He was a painter. And I signed up for a class and took a class. And the first thing I painted, I think, was a pear or something. And I was hooked. I thought, this is so cool. And so I've only really been painting since about 2008. I didn't paint outside or do any plein air painting. I'd never even heard of plein air painting. I didn't know what it was. And we, my partner Bill retired from the federal government, and we moved to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I didn't know a soul. And I joined up with the Susquehanna Valley Plein Air Painters, you know, to meet some people. And met a really good friend, and she, you know, started telling me about plein air events and whatever. And I went to my first quick draw. I was too late to be juried in because it was already all signed up, but I went to my first quick draw and I actually won first place. And it was like, oh, this is so cool. And she told me all about, you know, the different events. And so I applied the next year and I got in Easton. I got in plein air Easton and Pan Annapolis and, you know, a bunch of others. And so I've been hooked ever since. And that was like 2014, I think, 13. So it's, you know, I sort of hit the ground running and been, you know, working really hard. And I love the plein air. I love the whole, I love the competitions. I love the people. We're like carnies, you know, we see each other. And it's a lot of fun. It's great fun.
We're a little dirtier than carniers.
I know, but you know, and I really miss it because, you know, during a plein air week, I could paint, you know, 14 paintings a week or something, you know, something, and I haven't been that prolific this year for sure. So feeling a little rusty.
I had a coughing fit. I'm sorry. Antoine, how did you get to where you are today with your painting?
Yeah, I came from a very different background, I would say. First of all, I didn't really start out that interested in art. I was not drawing since I could hold a pencil, like most people like to claim. I got into art for the reason that most young men get into art, to impress chicks. And now when I was about 15, true story is that I was at my county fair and I got a caricature done. And I thought, you know what? That is pretty cool. I bet I could do that. And I put about a week of practice into it. Wasn't very good. Put another week of practice into it. Wasn't very good. It took me about 2 years of doing caricatures in my own time of friends and classmates and stuff. And I kind of fell in love with it. And I got the opportunity to meet one of Mad Magazine's lead artists who just so happened to live about 4 hours away from me. And he invited me to work for him for the summer doing caricatures up in Minnesota. Tom Richmond, not Mort Drucker.
Okay.
Tom Richmond, but he knows Mort Drucker and Jack Davis, the old greats. And so I had a pretty mainline interest in caricature and illustration and just parodies in general, and Mad Magazine, Cracked Magazine, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I worked for him for 2 summers up in Minneapolis, worked at Mall of America. And the cool part was as a young intern, you could go to his house as many days as you had off a week and watch him work on mad projects in his home studio. And then you would, you know, do caricatures the rest of the week out at an amusement park or Mall of America or something. So I did that for 2 summers, was absolutely hooked. And that was my, you know, my single-minded focus for a good 6 or 7 years. Now in total, I've done caricatures for 16 years, but I had no thoughts of doing anything with landscape. To be honest, I thought it was quite plain and boring and didn't really see the life in it. And then all of a sudden, I found myself, well, I guess I should say, I went to art school out in San Diego. I had a friend in illustration who had studied out at Watts Atelier under Jeffrey Watts. And he said, you know, if you want to learn art at a high caliber, you got to go to one of the coasts. And San Diego's where I studied. And he said, I'm going out there again for another 2 years. Would you like to move out there with me? So I moved out to San Diego. And I studied in a couple of the ateliers out there for 2 years and did a lot of like classical figure drawing, compositional study, color theory, all that stuff. But really thought I was going to kind of take it back into illustration and or move towards concept design for movie and TV work, which I did for 2 or 3 years after art school and during art school. And I liked that, but I just did not like LA. That was never my thing. And slowly, environment design, gouache painting, and stuff like that became my escape, my hobby for weekends or whenever I needed to unwind. I would go out with a small set of paints and find some, little nature hike and find myself a couple of miles up into the mountains in California painting little scenes. And I did that for a number of years just for my own pleasure. And then fast forward another 2 years later, I'm in Door County, Wisconsin, which is pretty close to where I'm from. And a close friend of mine, who's also in Plein Air now, him and I were doing caricatures at a county fair in Door County area at the same time as the Door County Plein Air Invitational. And we are painting one morning landscapes as a fun little hobby before we have to start the day of drawing faces at a fair. And some people drive up to us on the side of the road and ask us if we are professional painters, part of the Plein Air event in Door County. And we have no idea what this word means, no idea what this is about. And they say, oh yeah, there's this very large gathering of painters in Door County, and they're all from all over the country, and they've all traveled here, and they're painting all week long. You should check it out. So, well, the story goes, we went up there and saw some of their artwork, and we were never the same. We had completely been changed, and were amazed by the quality and that there was actually other people out in the world doing this thing that we were just doing as a fun little getaway from the commercial world. And yeah, I've just been doing it ever since. This was about 6 years ago.
Wow, talk about like just following what each thing took you to. Yeah.
Little breadcrumbs. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Coming around in circles too.
Right.
That's awesome. Cool. So I guess I'd love to know, we can end with this. What is your dream project? Like when things are lifted, do you have a dream project that you think about doing, whether it's limited or not limited by COVID restrictions, obviously? Richard, could you hear me okay?
Yeah, say that again, because you're garbled on my speaker a little.
Do you have a dream project one day, either to travel somewhere and paint or to do something completely different, whether it's restricted by COVID or not?
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, yes, I have them, but I'm still doing them to a degree. But things like getting to Europe are not possible at the moment, and probably aren't for a while. But I've been working on a bunch of stuff that I've done over the last 5 years or so of industrial paintings that are of the Carey furnaces in Pittsburgh, which is was Homestead Iron Works that was owned by Andrew Carnegie back at the turn of the 19th, 20th century. And so I've been doing a lot of those even lately. So I got more I want to do with them. And then other than that, I did get to go to Cuba this year in January again. So that was great fun. So I'm ready to go back as soon as we can travel. And, that's kind of most of it. I'm just working on old paintings like Charlie is there, but I don't have any 4 foot by 6 foot ones to do. But yeah, so I'm kind of doing that and trying to get through this and hoping next year is a little better. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of, it gives you a little more focus now on things you want to do, as opposed to, like Beth said, we sort of do these plein air events and it's kind of nonstop once spring hits till nearly when winter starts. And so this year we've had all this time, and I've been able to pick up a lot of my old paintings that I sort of didn't finish or didn't like at the time, and see something in them and, pull that out and see if I can do anything with it. So a lot of those have gotten done. And so a few other things I want to get back up into Montana and stuff with some friends up there and paint in and around Glacier and, Yellowstone again for a bit. So, all of those things. So, but, I don't know where it'll go. Just play it by ear. So.
Yeah, taking things a day at a time these days. You never know what they'll be allowed to do or.
Right.
Anyone else has something they want to share about what they'd like to be doing when Beth?
I think the travel thing, something that we've been doing, all of us plein air painters have been doing for years that we just took for granted. We just jumped in the car and went, and I think that's been a real a different thing this year. We haven't been able to do that, and I just won't take that travel for granted ever again. What I would like to do is, instead of just go, I'd like to spend, extra time at a place, not just the plein air event, but I'd like to extend travel. I love that Polynesian, residency. I think, I think maybe I'll sign up for that. No, I think, spending, an extended amount of time somewhere would really be nice. Now that I've, sort of done my own thing in my, kind of my own space, it'd be nice to do it someplace else. And it's, it'd be interesting to see what our world turns out to be. But, I miss those times, just being able to jump in the car and go.
Antoine, what do you have in mind?
Yeah, I guess it's ringing the same bell, but yeah, travel has always been a really big part of my life. Love traveling. I don't know, in these times, yeah, I think it's an opportunity, if not like a calling, to focus on things that you appreciate more. I think that's a real responsibility of every individual in tough times, to focus on the things that you do love and that do mean a lot to you. And so traveling has always meant a lot, but yeah, being kind of homebound for 8 months or so has been quite eye-opening into knowing how much it means to me and what it's like to be in new places and experiencing places. As far as like grandiose paintings or ideas, I don't necessarily set my goals on those kind of things. So I don't have any dream projects necessarily. I'm pretty happy with the natural progression of things thus far. So it's not to say that I'm not motivated for new things, but right now I'm just enjoying the progression as it comes. And just excited to see people again and take more time to appreciate. We're already in an industry where we're pushing ourselves to be aware of the subtle beauty in poetry and in everything around us, and maybe in the less likely, less obvious things. And so this is just yet more of a psychological test to just be aware of the beautiful little things. And it's been a great journey so far, so I'm excited.
Hopefully it'll come sooner than later for all of us. Jason, How about you? How are you feeling about the future and things you'd like to do?
As far as big projects go, if I knew that, I wouldn't feel so confused. I don't really have any big projects in mind. I will say this, I'm kind of the opposite of everybody else as far as travel. I don't want to travel. I am finding that here at home in Arkansas, there's plenty to paint. And my heart is really into it, kind of finding all those things that I've taken for granted in my own place. And so that's been nice. And if you want to count a project, I have been considering going back to school and finishing my MFA. I think there's a lot to be said about that. If I did finish my MFA, I wouldn't mind going back and teaching at the university level. I've enjoyed that in the past as an adjunct. And then there's always the museum route, and I loved being a curator. So I guess you could count that as a big project if I go that route. And that's about it. You have to ask me more questions to get more answers.
We want to see some of the cut up paintings, collage. Do you have any handy right there?
I can show you one I'm working on.
Yeah.
All right, let me.
That was a big question, right?
All right. This one is a self-portrait.
Wow.
Wow.
So let me get really close. And you can see just the collage of all the different pieces.
How many paintings are you using for that, or have you used so far?
Hundreds. It's hundreds.
Oh.
Probably on that one, there's at least already 25 to 50 different paintings. But I've cut up literally probably over 200 paintings already for these projects. And again, it's not the only experiments that I'm doing. I've been doing experiments with plexiglass. I've been doing experiments, just so many different experiments that, I mean, some of them are really silly, but I don't find out that it's silly until I do it. But I've always enjoyed experimenting. And so, I mean, plein air was an experiment for me. That's all that it was. And it was an unsuccessful experiment for years. And, talk about Door County. First year that I went to Door County, I was so unsuccessful that the next year that I went, I had people asking me, what do you think about your first year at Door County? That's how forgettable I was my first year. So, I think everything's an experiment. And I think that we all, just to be comfortable in the one thing for me has just always been boring. So I'm always trying new things. Even approaches in plein air. It's a really a funny thing when I teach workshops. I have people say, well, that's not how you start paintings. It's not how you started it the last time. As I start painting so many different ways. But anyways, that's it. That was fun showing you that that project I'm working on.
That was neat to see. Thank you for sharing. I think that with art, it's always got to be changing. Otherwise, it will be boring. Or everyone's going to just feel like they're saying the same thing all the time. So I don't think we're supposed to be doing it the same way all the time.
Right. I will say this. I think for some people, it is good. They find that one thing and they're excited about it, and it never ends. And for those people, that's a great thing. And then there's those who are restless, and I think I'm one of those who are restless. I'm always looking for something a little bit different. So
nothing wrong with that.
No. Nothing wrong with any way that anybody works.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Charlie, where are you now?
I'm one of those people who just find something and then they do what they like. I consider myself lucky as hell to be able to do this painting. Yeah, I'd like to be able to be traveling. I chose this current background. This is in my studio, the painting I'm working on right now, because I got approached by a gallery in Montana. I love Montana and North Dakota because it's utterly, you know, you can do these severe landscapes. And, you know, right now I wish I was out there to do, you know, to be collecting photos and sketches and stuff. But instead I'm having to like go on to Facebook pages of like abandoned Montana. And when I see a photograph I like, contacting the photographer, asking if I can use that as the armature for a painting. So I mean, it's made me very cognizant of the fact that you know, what we take for granted. What I think Beth was saying, what we take for granted, we just can't do this year. So you know, I look forward to a return to a sense of normalcy, and you know, we'll just leave it at that. But I you know, I don't have any big projects. I just move paint around and feed that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to see everyone next spring here on Cape Ann. Anyone close enough? Charlie, are you going to come down at all in this fall?
No.
Yeah, okay. No. I know some artists planned that are somewhat within driving distance coming down to just paint during that week in October. But I think finding a place to stay sometimes can be a little bit hard right now. So,
yeah.
but thank you. Yeah.
The one thing it is tough. It is tough to be foregoing all the lobster rolls. That's the thing I really have a lobster roll for me, please.
Oh yeah, me too.
Please.
I have one a year. That's it. One a year. I had it last weekend.
Oh my God, I have once a week.
Yeah, this is a place you want to go for that for sure. Unless you travel through Maine, of course. But yeah, here in Gloucester, it's quite a bit to experience. So those of you who haven't been here, just two of you haven't been here, Jason and Antoine. So yeah. Well, thank you very much for showing up today and chatting, and looking forward to meeting you. And
Nice
we'll
to meet
stay in
you,
touch.
Emery.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys.